Welcome to Driven, the Unscripted Success podcast, with your hosts, Mike Menino and Nariman Hamden, bringing you insights and stories on achieving personal, professional, and financial success.
Hi, everybody. It's Michael Menino. Welcome to Driven Unscripted Success podcast. Today on the podcast, we're interviewing professionals who shared their experience with you, the audience, on how they got to where they're at today. And zooming from the beautiful island of Wellington, Florida, we have JP Varvarigos.
Very good.
Correct? Did I do that right?
Yeah, no, you got it right.
Awesome.
Not an easy one.
No, it's not an easy one. Thank you for your kind words, Dave.
Sure.
Hey, JP, do me a favor. Tell everybody about you, how you got to where you're at today.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
You.
Happy to talk about my career. I'm a third-generation florist. My grandfather came back from World War II and got into floristry. And my last name is difficult because it's Greek, and a lot of Greeks in New York either had diners or flower shops, it seems. You know, it was a big business back then, back in the day. My grandfather was actually more on the wholesale end, although he did own a flower shop for a brief time and worked in flower shops. He had brothers and other family members that owned flower shops. There was a couple flower shops in the mix, and I'm trying to learn more about that history. My father worked in the flower shop as a young man, as a teenager, in New York and Jackson Heights, Queens. Moved to Florida in the late 70s and was the manager. He was in his late 20s, early 30s, and he was the manager of a big chain in here in South Florida, a big retail chain called Bunning the Florist. I think there was like 12 or 17 locations, something like that. That's where he met my mom. My mom was basically a data entry person at the shop. They started dating. Then I came, and then they left Bunning and opened their first flower shop they owned together in 1980, the year I was born. That was in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. They had that shop for about 10 years before they moved to Wellington, and they opened Wellington Florist, who I'm now the owner of, in 1991. So it's quite the legacy, quite the family history. I think people find that very interesting. I find it very interesting. I'd like to actually learn more about it. I actually went to New York. I found one of my grandfather's old business cards from the 50s. And
Old business card from the 50s.
Yeah, and it had the name of a wholesaler and the address, and it had a phone number on it, and the phone number was like 4 digits. Yeah, and so I showed up at this address. I'm there with my daughter and just visiting New York as a tourist. And I showed up at the address, and today it's like an I Love New York t-shirt and mug shop, something like that. And it's still the flower district down there. So there still is, the flower district's not what it used to be, but there's still a couple, and I'm standing out front of one, and I'm talking to one of the guys working out front, and I show him the business card, and he goes, "Oh yeah, it was called John Kayamos Wholesale." And he goes, "Oh, I know John Kayamos. He's down the street at," I forget the name of it, Premier Floral Wholesalers or something like that. So I went down the street and I walked in, and I said, "Is John Kayamos here?" And he goes, "That's me." And I just told him the story, and I go, "Here's my grandfather's business card. He worked here, or for you, or probably your grandfather, 50 years ago or 60 years ago, in the 50s or something like that."
It's like 70 years ago.
Oh my God. Yeah. And he goes, "That's actually my great uncle." We had a little conversation. It was wild. It was pretty cool. There's a lot of people that remain in this business today are grew up in it, because people aren't getting into this business. People aren't becoming florists. So it's,
why not?
I think, well, the flower industry has shrunken, has gotten a lot smaller, due to a couple things. A lot of it is mass market, which is grocery stores, big box stores selling bouquets. Before you could walk into a supermarket or Costco and buy a bouquet, you had to go to a florist. So when, back in the 70s and 80s, when Walmarts and large box stores came, same thing that happened to bakeries and hardware stores and stuff like that, the mom and pops. So it's not it's
big box stores.
Yeah, it's the industry. I wouldn't say the industry's shrinking. The industry just changed, right? So people still buy flowers. Americans actually probably buy more flowers than they used to. It's just the buying habits, the consumer habits have changed. You can pick up a bouquet, at a big box store now. Same thing. You don't go to a local family owned appliance store to buy a TV. You go to Best Buy, So that's why I think 20 years ago there was 20,000 florists in the United States. I think now it's only like 8,000, something like that. So it's shrinking. Yeah, it's definitely shrinking.
I would have thought that it would have been bigger because of FTD florists have to use a floral shop, right? So they just use your florist shop, and when the big boys hit, they have to use an actual florist.
So what you're describing with FTD is what we call a wire service.
Okay.
That's a sector of our industry where it's like an escrow, and you basically pay a local florist. They take your money. We wire out the flowers to another florist. They fill the order, and then FTD is like the escrow agent where they pay the bills. They facilitate the transfer of the funds and the connection and the network. That's a model that's also going away because of Google. People are now just, you live in South Florida, but you want to send flowers to your mom in New York. People are just Googling the florist directly, and I recommend people do that. You do get better quality, better service. There is a commission, involved in those wire services. So like I would get a percentage, the FTD gets a percentage, and the filling florist is left with like 70%. So it's not a profitable order. So the satisfaction is very low. They end up not filling the order, to full value. So it's not really great for the consumer. So I recommend all your listeners and you yourself, if you're sending flowers out of town, you should probably Google, a florist in that area, look at their reviews, and then just call them directly. Establish a relationship with the florist in your mom's town because you're going to send her flowers every year. Establish a history. So that's my bit of advice, and I'm saying that as a florist I have a wire service. I use Teleflora. It does have a purpose. Like we have corporate clients that send flowers all the time nationwide, and they want one point of contact, to make their lives easier in ordering flowers. It makes sense for things like that. But if you're calling once a year to send flowers to your mom, you Google it and call directly. I think you just generally get better results. And same thing. We get calls directly from people across the country to send flowers here in Wellington, Florida, and they're getting the maximum value. Every dollar they spend goes towards their arrangement, not a bunch of service fees and deliveries. And, we do charge delivery, but service fees and network fees, and we're getting the entire amount. We're not paying a commission for that order, so that the client gets a lot better value that way.
Gotcha. There's a lot of competition in Florida. Well, we were talking earlier. There's not a lot of competition. It went from 20,000 to 8,000.
Well, like I said, the industry morphed. It didn't really go away. It's not like people aren't buying flowers. There's just different ways to buy flowers. Instead of a local mom and pop shop like I am, you can, there's another thing besides the wire services is in big box stores. Another thing you're seeing in our industry is drop shippers. You've seen Pro Flowers. There's a couple of the Books Company, Farm Girl Flowers. Basically, they're marketing companies, and they have, they put together a bouquet, and it's an e-commerce marketing business, and you place the order. They have a facility in Miami that actually makes all the bouquets for all those different companies. It's the same building. It's really quite wild, and they make the bouquets and then package them in FedEx, and they get shipped out the next day.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's I don't know. Yeah, that's definitely different. All one spot.
Yeah.
I got a question for you, JP. Sure. What if our listeners wanted to get better at what you do? What tips and tricks and suggestions would you give them?
To get better at what I do?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do a couple things. One job, I'm a florist. I'm a trained florist, and I'm a designer. I can make anything out of flowers. To get better,
make anything. Like what is some crazy cool stuff that you made out of flowers that you wouldn't think could be made out of flowers?
Oh, I mean, we can make pretty much anything you can think of out of flowers. We've made sculptures and peacocks and bicycles and motorcycles and guitars and all kinds of stuff out of flowers. We do a lot of wedding work, so we'll do like really extravagant arches, bridal arches, huppahs, and ceremony arrangements like that. We've done ceiling installations where we hang flowers from the ceiling. We've done flowers to wear, like entire garments made out of flowers for.
You mean like an outfit, like an
Yeah,
actual dress, or
yeah, yeah. And
really?
there's methods and techniques for all that. And to get better at the actual technique is to, get outside of your own little ecosystem. For a long time, when I was a florist, I've only ever worked here. I've never worked at other many places. So I've only ever worked here. So about 10 years into my career, like that's kind of like when Facebook came out, and I started networking with other florists on Facebook. And that actually really helped me. It really started to grow. I started to get different perspectives, and I had a little access to other florists outside of my own shop, and I learned different techniques. So I would say, join your local trade association, go to seminars, network with people that have similar businesses like you. And I find that very inspiring. It's great to talk to other people that have the same problems, the same issues, the same challenges that you have every day, and network with those people, and learn from their mistakes, learn from their wins. Are you doing the right kind of marketing? Are you doing the right kind of sales? Are you doing the right kind of operations? Where are you buying your flowers? How do they come in? How are you processing your flowers? So I find an incredible amount of value in networking with my peers in this industry, and I've made a lot of close friends.
Well, you kind of alluded to my next question. What is one of the biggest challenges you had, and how did you overcome it? And did you use the networking to do that?
Um, so my biggest challenges in growth, we've grown, 1,000% in the last 10
Really?
years. It's really been a wild ride. My biggest challenge is, I started off, it was me and my parents and maybe one or two other employees. I have 35 employees now. So it's the challenge is the people and the politics. Um, a lot of people are saying they have trouble finding employees. A lot of business owners are saying that, and that's true to some extent. Although I do attract good talent because I'm the dominant shop in my area, so I can pay better. I offer benefits. We have a good culture here. We tend to attract good help. I don't have a huge problem attracting help, but it's just all the different personalities.
Mhm.
Having an environment where people get along. They're working closely. They're working hard. You're on your feet all day. There's time constraints. There's pressure. So getting people to get along. And people do get along generally in my shop, but still, there's little cliques and factions, and that we try to smooth over any issues employees have, because they're good employees. They just having a bad day, and
Right.
they start bickering or whatever like that. Although we do have a good culture, people with bad attitudes don't last here very long. So, a bad attitude one bad apple can sour the batch, right? Is that what they say? So we try to keep a good culture here, but that's probably my biggest challenge is just the people, and I'm good with people. I have several managers, and they're good with people. Uh, I try to promote people that are good with people. That's right, because that's the biggest problem. It's not really if you're the best florist. I actually need the best florist making arrangements, not managing. I need the best florist managing the people, you know. So so I try to just put the right, that's my job as the owner, is to, to draft the right football team, put the right people in the right positions, and making sure
Yeah.
support them to do their job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I ran a construction company, and how do I put this? Dealing with men's feelings are more prevalent than you'd think in construction.
Yeah, I mean, we're
Kind
all
of blew my
people
mind.
after all. I have
Right.
predominantly women working here, but I don't I don't imagine that mostly men would be any easier.
No.
I actually came from the restaurant business before I started in the flower business. Um, I went to culinary school, and it was a male dominated, and there was definitely an amount of that for sure. It's the same business. And actually, getting into speaking about me being a chef, I often like to talk about that. I feel like that really gave me an edge in this business. I was trained as a chef. I went to the Culinary Institute of America in New York. I worked in some high-end restaurants, and running a flower shop is exactly, and I say exactly, it's really very close. It's just like running a restaurant. It's the same business. So I don't regret
Running a
going to
business is
culinary
running
school.
a business.
Yeah. But in particular, restaurants, it's your manufacturing, you're making something, out of raw ingredients, you're serving it to the client. It's really, instead of lettuce, tomato, and onion, we have roses, daisies, and lilies, So if the ingredients are different, the ingredients are different, but the processes and the operations are essentially the same. Better hours, better hours than restaurants, less deviant culture. We're not we don't have the rampant alcoholism, and stuff like that that's existing in restaurants. So it was a better lifestyle for me for sure.
Agreed. I worked at a couple restaurants. That was a lot of fun. It was
Yeah,
fun,
a
but
lot of fun,
I
no
don't think
doubt.
I'd want to run. I helped run a couple of restaurants. My dad had a couple of like delicatessens, not really restaurants, but yeah, I didn't like coming home at 1 o'clock at night.
Yeah, yeah, and that's one reason I made the career change. It's my wife was a teacher. I had just kind of been dating her for about a year, and she's working
Cool.
early morning, getting home at 2 or 3 o'clock, and I'm going to work at 1 and getting home at 1. So we never saw each other, and that's my story basically. My parents called me. It was sometime after 9/11. I was trying to start my own catering company and also working in restaurants. Um, Catering, everything got kind of slow after 9/11. There was a little bit of a recession, and the economy kind of slumped a little bit. And my parents called me and said, we could use some help for Mother's Day. I went in there and answered the phones for Mother's Day and helped customers, and I just never left. I ended up really enjoying it. I never
Well,
thought
that's
I never
cool.
thought growing up that I would join the family business. It never occurred to me till the day I started, until I was 23 years old. I'm 45 now. So
My son said the same thing to me. I'll never do what you do. He's doing exactly what I do now. It's kind of hilarious.
yeah. Well,
Want to
construction
make
seems
God
like a
laugh?
great
Tell him
field.
your plans.
Mhm.
How do you tackle learning new things, especially stuff that's way outside your comfort zone?
Um well, I'll say that I'm the vice president of the Florida State Florist Association. So I'm involved in and that leans back to what I said about networking, with your peers. My job is to promote good floristry, because good floristry is good for the industry. Uh, uh, and that's really important to me. Um, and so I'm sorry, what was the actual question? You said, how do I?
How do you tackle learning new things?
So again, the networking with other peers, and then there's also one thing we do at the Florida State Florist Association is we do education. We will put on seminars. I'm actually doing one in a month from now on October 20th. We're putting on a little seminar here in Palm Beach County, where we'll have a design presentation. There's various schools and places you can go learn. I've never actually been to a floral school. I never attended one, but there are some. We help promote them. We work with them. Learning new techniques from new designers and and one thing I often say too is you can become an expert at anything in an hour a day. It just takes the time and the dedication. I'm actually trying to learn Spanish. I've got about a year under my belt. He estado aprendiendo español. I've been trying to learn Spanish. I
Nice.
got about a year, and I'm learning it, and it's an hour a day. I spend an hour a day. And you just got to be consistent and plug at it and be dedicated, and not like fall off. During Valentine's Day last year, I pretty much did fall off. I didn't do my hour a day, when I was really slammed.
Oh,
And
yeah,
it
Valentine's
shows.
Day. I didn't think about that. That's your busiest time of the year, right?
We do about 20 times the volume. Yeah.
20 times the volume. Okay,
Yeah.
that's got to be intimidating coming up to that day.
No, it's really hard. The holidays are something that's really difficult in this industry. And there's two ways you can look at it. You can kind of go all in and try to capture every order and execute every order, or you can kind of pick how many orders you want to do and cut off. But it's almost like an infinite money glitch. The phone just doesn't stop ringing. The internet just doesn't stop ringing. That's every florist everywhere, no matter how good or bad they are. It's wild. Valentine's Day and Mother's Day are like the two big ones.
Gotcha.
And we rent refrigerated trucks. We bring in all kinds of freelance designers. We go from a staff of 35 to like 60.
Wow.
We bring in a lot of people. We go from doing 100 deliveries to 1,000 deliveries, something like that. 50 deliveries to 1,000 deliveries. We do about 50 to 100 deliveries on a normal day and over 1,000 at Mother's Day. But pickups, we also do pickups, so it's not all deliveries. We have about 500 pickups.
Sounds like things are going pretty well for you in your financing. Thinking about the future, have you ever created or done passive income?
I'm sorry, you
make
broke
money
up on
hands off. So, have you ever created passive income where you make money hands off?
Well, so I am doing pretty well, but it's really only since like 2018, and a lot of my money I end up reinvesting in my own business. I've expanded the shop 2 times. We just added a second location for the first time in my career. I've never had a second location. That's brand new in June. That costs a lot of money. We just bought a $105,000 refrigerated truck to do events. So, I invest heavily in my own business. I do for the first time though, have a 401k and have
Nice.
have a financial advisor and a little bit of money in the bank for the first time. But for many years I had a job that paid the bills and didn't have a whole lot of savings. So it's only in the last 5 or 10 years where I've been able to put some money away. I have a little bit of real estate. I have a little bit of I have a 401k and another investment account that's not a retirement account, and it's doing well. It's been the stock market's been good. But as far as and we just reinvest the dividends and keep that growing. I don't own any other businesses though. Maybe for the future, do I want to own a restaurant? Probably not.
No. You own the building, don't own the restaurant. Let somebody else run it.
I would love to buy commercial real estate. That's really high on my list as something I would love to do. It would be great if I owned my own building. I don't. It's kind of functionally impossible.
You're busy.
Well, in Wellington, Florida, there is no real estate, and there's people with far deeper pockets than me that don't own buildings.
I can talk to you after this. I can show you something later on.
Okay. Sure.
Wrapping up the interview, what do you have exciting? What's coming up for the next let me try that again. Wrapping up the interview, wondering what exciting plans you have for the next 6 to 12 months.
Well, we're kind of exploring. Like I mentioned, we opened our second location in June.
Where's that one? Is that in Wellington too, or is that in a different city?
It's in Palm Beach Gardens, which is a really awesome area. It's got a lot of money, a lot of new money. A very dense population. There's a great mix of corporate and residential. It's really promising. So we're kind of testing out this hub and spoke model where my main shop here in Wellington, I have about 6,000 square feet, which is where all my employees are based, and that's where we make everything. We're trying to have these little boutique satellite locations in really nice areas around the county. And they're basically their marketing. It's a marketing play, and we don't do any operations there. We just have a boutique. You can walk in, you can pick up flowers. That's why we bought the refrigerated truck, so we could deliver the flowers to the locations under air. We stock the coolers, but we don't actually make anything at those places. And frankly, people don't even go into those locations. It's really an address for Google. So that people in that area, people near my store in Palm Beach Gardens can Google, I need flowers, and we'll pop up. Because Google likes to show the closest thing. So we're picking a couple key areas around town, and we're going to put little low overhead locations. And when I say low overhead, I don't mean cheap rent, but we don't have a big staff there. We're not doing operations there. But we do want nicer rent places that are high traffic. So, the place we're at now is really beautiful. But it's only about 800 square feet. It's really small, but it doesn't matter. Even if I didn't open my door, right? Even if I don't open my doors, we'll make money because people are ordering online. About 80% of my business is phone or internet. A lot of people don't walk in.
Yeah, that's pretty normal nowadays. Yeah, it's still good to have that kind of business.
Yeah.
Hey, JP, thank you very much for being here. We really do appreciate it and shared a lot of good stuff here. If anybody wanted to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
Sure. Yeah. We serve all of Palm Beach County, which is a big area from Boca Raton to Jupiter, Florida, and all the way out to Palm Beach Island, and out to Belglade, the farms where the sugar farms are. It's a big area. We serve the entire area, and you can reach me by calling 561-333-4441. And my website is wellingtonflorist.com.
Well, listen, JP, thank you very much. We really do appreciate it. We're going to let everybody else go. And then don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, hit us up in the comments. Thanks again for being on the podcast. I do appreciate it.
Great time. Thanks for having me. I'm really grateful.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Driven, the Unscripted Success Podcast. Want to share your story? Apply to be a guest at drivensuccesspodcast.com/guest.